Hello, everybody. Hello to all the watchers and viewers and people on the screen and whatnot. How's everyone doing on this fine Sunday?
Doing well. Doing well.
You on mute, Bondy.
Sunday self care.
I know.
We are so happy to have one of the stars of one of our favorite shows, I Love America Huntsville, Mrs. Kimmi Scott. Let's bring on our guest. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Kimmi. We are so happy to have you here. How are you today?
I am amazing. It's beautiful here, so I'm doing really, really good.
Well, see, that's good. So we know we had you on when the season first started. We didn't know much about the season, and now a lot has happened.
You know a little bit more now, huh?
We do. We like, oh, okay. And I feel like more is to come later on in the season. So we wanted to get on some things. But first, we want to just discuss some little quick things. So we know that you're a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people may not know that is different than someone who like builds homes. So what exactly could you tell us as far as from a real estate point of view? What are some pitfalls that we may not know when trying to buy or sell, even rent and lease spaces?
Wow, girl, that's a long list. Because at the end, I'm serious, because a lot of people don't do their homework. A lot of people call you and they just want a house. They haven't talked to a lender, they haven't looked into financing and that kind of thing. I think that would probably be the biggest pitfall that I run into, is that people don't talk to a lender first, especially in this market, because houses go so fast, you don't have the opportunity to do it secondhand. So when you call a real estate agent and you say, oh, I want to go see this house, most of them are going to ask you, have you talked to a lender? Because we want to know how much the lender has approved you for. We don't want to go show you houses because you feel like you want 450, but the lender is like, no, sis, we're going to stick at about 310. Okay. Ooh. So it's always important to start with the lender. It's always important to start with the lender. That would be my first suggestion. The second suggestion is have a good lender, because there's a lot of different programs out there that you can actually benefit from if you have a good lender who knows everything in your particular area. They have first-time homeowners programs. They have rural area programs. They have inner city programs. So if you talk to the right lender, they can usually marry you up with your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and whatever program is in your area is going to be the best one. Lenders are like super, super, super big, like super, super, super big. And then you got to be prepared for this particular season, because it's a seller's market. And so these rascals wake up and say, I'm going to sell my house for $500,000. And then they put it on the market. Like, it's just, that's being facetious, but I'm saying the way they're pricing houses nowadays is because they can. Like, they just can. They can literally just about price it anywhere they want to price it. So I would say your lenders are super duper duper important to start with them, and your home inspections are super duper duper important, because what's pretty on the outside, because everybody makes it all shiny and glistening on the outside, ain't always pretty underneath once those inspectors get under the foundations and all that kind of stuff and look at your house. And so in this market, a lot of people are taking certain things out of their contracts to win the bid. Some people are taking out home inspections. Some people are taking out appraisals. These are things that are your safeguard as a buyer. That's your safeguard to not get trash. You know what I'm saying? Not to get a lemon. And a lot of people are kind of taking those out because it's a fight for the win. And so when you take out some of those contingencies, it kind of raises you up on the totem pole as far as the seller looking at all their options and who's going to buy. And I don't do renting. Just the person I am before I was a real estate agent, I'm just not into giving someone else your money and making someone else rich. When you can kind of go through the steps to have your own, and when I work with my husband as far as credit is concerned. So when that's the biggest issue for people, they go over to Credit One and we'll get that fixed, because you're just helping other people get rich and you need to have your own.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. So we also know that you're a foodie, and I see you posting things online. And I just have two quick little graphics for you. I want to know which, because it's almost Thanksgiving time, so I know you probably like to Thanksgiving food. So out of these options, which one can you absolutely not get rid of? Which one you will have to keep only one side dish between macaroni and cheese, some collard greens, or some sweet potatoes?
You said I can only keep one.
Yes, you can only have one at Thanksgiving. Which one would you be like, I have to have this because it's the best?
I need them all. Oh, I need them all piled on my plate, touching each other. Macaroni and cheese, I'm keeping.
Now, which one would you say is the favorite that you cook the best, or you prefer to make it because it may be easier than the other two?
I'm gonna say I probably cook greens the best. I got a pot of turnip greens on the stove now, so when we done, I can go eat dinner. So I think that's probably what I do the best.
Okay. Which one do y'all think? Like, which one would y'all want to keep if y'all had to think about it too?
Mac and cheese all day.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Mac and cheese for sure.
See, I'm keeping collard greens.
Really?
Yeah, Jalen.
I love collard greens.
I do too, but I'm thinking Thanksgiving. Like if I had to run Thanksgiving, I could replace the green with something else, you know? Mac and cheese is just a staple at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's no different thing that you can do for that. Like, yeah.
Now, for some meats and some for things that we bake in the oven, which main meat dish would you not want to do without? I have some pot roasted potatoes, some oven roasted ribs, either pork or beef, or some baked salmon. Which one would you like? You know, I have to have this. I just want to have it.
This is a meat in general. This isn't Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, this is meat in general. Yes.
Ooh-wee. I like all of those. I probably ain't gonna go with salmon. I'm a pretty big salmon fan, so I'll probably go with salmon.
See, I'm like, I would keep the oven roasted ribs. I love I like for the meat to be off the bones. I love ribs, and that's just big here in Detroit. What about Necey or Jami? I think Jami's off, or Bondy?
Pot roast for me. Pot roast and potatoes.
Listen, I'm with pot roast and potatoes too. It's a hard question.
It really is. I just feel like I cook salmon more than any of these other dishes because to me that pot roast and potatoes is like a winter food, and we don't get many cold months here. So and then the ribs, like honestly, I haven't had anybody make ribs as good as my dad since my dad passed away. So it's almost like but it's not as good as my dad's ribs. And the baked salmon is just like, that's your go-to on any given day is salmon.
Right. Salmon literally every week at some point.
Yeah.
So let's get into and potatoes of it all. Okay. Now, speaking of food, we know that Jalen is working at Black. He's helping out at the GM, also helping out with the cooking and the bartender and everything. And we feel like, do you think that Jalen has been having issues getting help with, Marcel and Tisha? Do you feel like Marcel and Tisha have been helpful to him, or that Jalen needed some tough love working there to get better within his position? What do you think about that?
I think it's a little of both. I think Jalen needs a little tough love so that he can get better acclimated to working in a restaurant environment, because he's not had any experience. And both of them knew that going in, that he didn't have the experience in that regard. And I think Tisha even mentioned at some point to Marceau on one of the episodes, why don't we look into somebody who has a little bit more experience? And Marceau had mentioned it to me before he even asked Jalen about it. And I said the same thing, he doesn't have the experience. And Marceau assured me he would get it to him. So that shouldn't be a problem. So my issue isn't with Jalen's tough love or having to work out some of the things. But at the same token, I don't think he has gotten enough training. I'm a nurse. And so you work your way up. I was a CNA, then I went to nursing school. I did a whole lot of stuff before I was executive director. A lot of stuff. And all that stuff kind of prepares you for different case scenarios that you may run into. You may run into a situation where you were actually the server and something didn't go well. So now as a GM, you're like, oh, I remember that was me, and this is what we should have done. I just think those experiences to go up the ladder help prepare you to be more successful. That's just what I feel. So I do feel like it's a little bit of both. And to be honest, my bigger issue isn't when Jalen has failings. My bigger issue is when you rib him about it and you know he didn't have the experience. You see what I'm saying? So to have a shortcoming is not a big deal to me. It's not. My issue is, calling him out like, you should have done better. Right. That's my only issue ever, because he's got to learn it some kind of way. If it's hard knocks or if it's somebody's teaching him, he's got to learn it. And if anybody has seen me, I'm into hard knocks. I don't mind hard knocks. I just don't pound people when I just know they didn't have it to begin with.
Right. With that being said, speaking on Jalen and him working for Tisha and Marcel, I know you and Tisha have had, your struggles with the friendship. Do you feel like the issues that you two have has impacted how she treats Jalen on the job?
I really try to dismiss that, to be honest. The thought has occurred to me a couple of times because I honestly feel like, Tisha is sensitive. She's sensitive and she's emotional. And I believe firmly that, like, as soon as I kind of conjecture it, I really try to let it go because I don't want that to become a stumbling block for us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I believe that they all act as professional as, they can under the circumstances.
Okay. With that being said, the last time we saw you and Miss Wanda together at Black, there was, some heightened emotions. And I guess we're wondering, do you feel like you and Miss Wanda will ever get on like some type of, medium ground or something? Or is it always going to be like an issue between the two of y'all because Miss Wanda just is a certain way, basically?
It'll likely be an issue until there's no issue with me and Tisha. As a mother, my assumption is that as long as Tisha feels some kind of way and she, expresses that to her mom, then her mom's going to feel some kind of way. And in all fairness, I don't stress out over how she feels. Mm-hmm. As far as Wanda is concerned, because typically Wanda has the information really wrong most of the time. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't stress me out. I always get stressed out. I get frustrated when people tell me stuff that I did in a general term, but can't actually tell me stuff that I did.
Right. Because it's like they just want to feel a way and they don't have any real information to back that up, but they just want to act like there is.
Right. And that's frustrating. For me, for other people, they may be able to brush it off like she ain't got nothing else. I don't care. But for me, it's very frustrating. And that was that moment at Black. I was just frustrated to hear her say, like, things you posted on social media. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, what did I post on social media? Like, tell me, show me. Because I don't do that. Like, that's not my nature. To go back and forth on social media with people. So that's frustrating to me because I feel they're extremely upset. But it's very hard to get a lot of concrete, this is what Kimmi did stuff.
Because usually Kimmi didn't do anything.
Right.
Apparently I have. I'm settled in the fact that from her perspective, I definitely have. And at the end of the day, her perception is my reality. Like, it really is. Whether I agree with it or not, her perception is my reality. And so I get on these interviews and I may jest and I say I'm failing as a friend or whatever. But the legit of it is I failed her. In her mind, I failed her. And I can't change that perception yet. I haven't been able to, change that perception.
Not without knowing what it is, right?
Well, without knowing what I'm doing every day and saying out my mouth every single day,
I want to piggyback off that. Do you feel like a lot of the times Tisha may act away with you because of maybe her inability to be able to defend herself to Marceau? Because sometimes, and even in last night's episode, it seems like because she can't really get I guess maybe not control, but she can't get the respect that she would like, I feel like, when she's talking to Marceau. So then she'll come and have these interactions with you where she's really trying to like hold your feet to the fire in a way that I feel like should have been more so directed at Marceau. So do you often feel like she maybe does that, like redirects how she's feeling?
I honestly am not sure where we are in our situation to even remotely try to think about what's going on in her mind. All I can go by is literally what she gives to me. And I've seen Tisha in the past. Tisha like doesn't really have a problem standing up to Marceau when she wants what she wants. So I'm gonna say 60% of me is saying no. I don't think that's it, because I've seen Tisha stand up to Marceau. I think I legit have let her down. In her mind, I've legit let her down. And it's something that she simply, it's hard for her to get past. And whenever the conversations come up, I have stuff I can't get past. She has stuff she can't get past. And we're just in a little spiral. I think her issue with me is with me.
So last time we talked to you, you told us it would be interesting to see what people do to fit in with the group. So I was super excited to see the introduction of Tiffany on the show. So Shot Her Around the World, when Tiffany comes on the show and at brunch, she's talking about how she met Destiny, and she's bringing up Destiny's ex-husband and a friend/business partner. From your point of view, do you think that Tiffany was being shady, or was it pure innocence? Yeah.
Well, I didn't think it was pure innocence. If those are my only two options.
Well, what would be your next option? What do you think the answer to that would be?
I think she was looking for her means of fitting in, like her means of, this is how I know you. I've been here before. I'm not as new as y'all think I am. I know you, or I know stuff about you. I just think that was her socially awkward attempt to fit in. It didn't quite pan out very well.
It did.
It did not at all. So do you think the disconnect between Tiffany and Destiny was that issue, or because you were there, was there anything else that felt weird between them in that moment? Or was that just like a one-off, what she said was just the wrong time?
To be honest, in that moment, we all felt some kind of way about the information she brought in general to Destiny, to me. Like, just the package of information that day made everybody feel some kind of way. So yeah, I think it's strictly, I haven't had any kind of conversation to think it was greater than that. At the moment, the parts that y'all have seen, you just feel like sometimes Tiffany's timing is just bad as far as and, you know, having conversation, like, and we can't say what makes screen, what doesn't make screen, because Tiffany and I had a conversation. And she was like, well, if it was my kid, I would want to know. I said, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to know. Pull me to the side. Like, put me over there. And so that's what I'm saying. So it was just the timing of disseminating that information at a birthday party in front of a bunch of people. And we just happened to do that whole bunch of people thing. And it didn't work out so well for her. Some people can recover, but she that didn't work out so well.
Because I know as a fan, we really wondered, like with her asking you about Monster, what happened with Monster, did you feel, were you more upset in that moment of her bringing that up because one, she was a familiar stranger, or because you're bringing it up in front of all these people? You know, because with you not knowing that upset you more, that you didn't know about it, or that the way and when she brought it up to you?
Listen, I couldn't get in that car fast enough and call Maurice. I'm saying my bigger issue was not that I didn't know. And I mean, they legit caught our conversation when I said, there's conversations we just don't have, and there's some we're not gonna have. As a father-son relationship and as a thing that they got going on, there's some I'm not gonna be privy to. And I wanna say maybe season 1 towards the end, my concern has always been to involve me in the things that involve me. Like when you make decisions that I gotta, get out the house every day and do, I think I should have a little say in that. But on some things that don't necessarily involve me, I don't ever like being the deer in headlights. So this much was that part, like that much, because when I'm caught off guard, sometimes I say things that I really haven't thought through. And I don't really like to do that, especially when it comes to talking about children. In front of a group is, putting it mildly, we're on television. We're on television. And we're talking about people's kids. So I thought that couldn't have been more inappropriate. Like I thought I didn't, there's no ifs, ands, or buts on that particular incident for me.
So you're saying were you okay with him not telling you about the incident with Monster because of the father-son relationship? Do you feel like that was something you should have been left out of?
Well, see, a lot of stuff, for me, you have to be able to get both sides of the story before you can have an issue. At that moment, I didn't like being the deer in headlights. His conversation was, when we spoke, that he had handled it with Monster and he promised Monster. I'm like, okay with that. Like, how can I not be okay with? Like, I don't have an issue with that. I know a couple of friends from the show asked me that several times, and I said several times, no, that's not my issue. My issue is talking about children on TV. And I don't know how much shorter that conversation is. It's not about making it about 25 different things. It's strictly about talking about children on the, and the opportunities that other people had to talk about their kids. Nobody wants to talk about their kid. So I thought we didn't get the same courtesy to not talk about our kid.
Do you, because I feel like this might be a tricky question, but because you said that, it made me think about, how did Tiffany come across that information? Because the way Maurice talked about it, it was like she should not have been privy to that information in the first place. So I was just wondering, like, was there like something where she shouldn't have known that? Were her kids involved? Like,
And that's a question she's gonna have to answer. We asked her on the camera who told how she knew, and she said she couldn't remember.
Right.
I can't put words or thoughts in people's heads or mouths. The response was that she couldn't remember.
Okay.
So we see y'all having a conversation. It was you, Maurice, Lewis, and Tiffany. And that's where she started to apologize for speaking on Monster, right? Then shortly after that scene, we see her and Mel go into the restroom, and it seems like the issue is more so that Maurice didn't tell you. So do you feel like that was her not taking complete responsibility for bringing up a child?
Yes, and we actually had a lengthier conversation, obviously, than what y'all saw. And I said that at that time as well. Like, even before they went to the bathroom, they both apologized readily. And I mean both her and her husband is what I'm talking about. They apologized readily and said they were sorry, it's not gonna happen again, da 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 da. And like immediately it was like a backpedal of, but you got to understand, like, kids, and I don't do the apology but for. Like, the apology but for, the but for just negates the entire apology to me. And we actually had that conversation on the couch as well, that the but fors just kind of take away the apology for me.
I have to say, I love that whole scene and the whole way y'all handled the conversation with Tiffany. Because as a viewer, I was heated and I thought that it would go differently. But I feel like it worked out for you as far as getting your point across, whereas we kind of seen Destiny struggle with getting her point across because her approach to Tiffany was a little different than yours.
Well, and I think that matters. And a lot of times in these episodes, I really do my best to have a calm conversation because I think people receive you better. I just think you're just received better, whatever information you're giving. And I tell people likewise, like I could talk to you for hours, long as you keep it right here with me. We can talk forever. It's just the approach matters. I mean, and that's in your marriage, that's in friendships, that's in everything. In everything, the approach matters. You know, Destiny and I got off to the wrong foot. And it was just our approaches. Both of us were kind of, you know, short and curt and didn't like what we didn't like. And, you know, we kind of got off to the wrong foot because we kind of were a little brash at the front end.
Yeah. So we know for a fact that we saw Maurice say that, you know, you never know how a child will react to information being made public on television. So can you put any emphasis, not any emphasis, but you can let us know, how did Monster take this being, you know, broadcast on the show? How has he been doing with this information being out about him?
Wow, y'all gonna really take this? I don't know how y'all gonna take this. He's doing well. He's doing well, physically, emotionally, that kind of thing. I still have not personally sat down with him to have a long conversation about what happened on TV. This information I'm giving you, I got from his dad, you know, who said they talked with Kiowa, had a conversation, and, you know, he's cool. Like he's okay. No kid wants all that information out about themselves. So the information I have right now is really via Maurice.
Okay. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about this Vegas trip. So somebody had the great idea to invite Mel and Martell on this trip, which definitely went to the left when they got to arguing. So do you feel like their arguments made the trip less fun for everybody else?
As friends, you want things to be as copacetic as possible. And so it's disheartening. You know, it's disheartening because you don't want Mel to have a whole week of why did I come? You know what I'm saying? You know, you just don't want that tension when you're trying to have a great weekend. So
because y'all all are friends too, so it's weird.
Correct. Extremely weird. And what's weirder is that we've all had differences at one time that we're all trying to mend. You know, Martell had differences. They're trying to mend. Mel had differences. We're mending. Tisha and Melody. You know, so everybody's had differences that they're trying to mend in some shape, form, or fashion. So, you know, the guys are still cool with Martell. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it makes it tough. It makes it tough. It probably would have helped to I guess make sure she was cool with it. She might have thought she was cool with it until, like, you know, a button got pushed. Or he might have thought he was cool with it until a button got pushed. But we are all in hope that as co-parents that you know, they find a medium where they can coexist.
So do you still think they might get back together?
I lose hope daily. I do. I lose hope, and that's not good. Like at the first season, I literally would have lost my money. Like they gonna get back because it's just always been Mel and Martell. Like it's just been Mel and Martell. So the first season, yeah, I did. I would have lost my money to say that they were absolutely gonna get back together. But it just feels like the chasm is too deep at this point. It's
okay. Because I was thinking about this in this conversation y'all had on the episode last night. I know there's an event that Tisha was talking about, but somebody was like, she probably was trying not to invite Mel and Martell to the event. And Tisha thinks that, because I guess Tisha thought that you had planned something and she wasn't invited. But I'm wondering, were you like trying to not invite Mel and Martell to things because of the way they tend to go at it?
I hadn't done one single thing. I hadn't planned nothing. I ain't done nothing. I ain't had no event. I ain't so much as
not a event.
Listen, it was no answer because there is no answer. I haven't planned anything. I really haven't. And the one time that I did, like with Jalen's thing, I went directly to Melody and I asked them, like, y'all were there when we started him in college stuff, like, would y'all be cool to come? And she said yes. So I went there and asked, but I haven't planned anything.
It's funny because I'm thinking about the last time we talked to you, I could see a little bit more hope from Mel and Martell getting back together the last time we talked to you. And this was just like maybe 2 months ago. And now you're like, I'm losing hope every day. So it's funny to see.
I am because you see the TV show too, and you see people in their confessionals, and you see people say like, I wish they stopped thinking we gonna get back together. And I'm like, oh, it was me. I thought you were getting back together. So,
right.
I mean, like, if I'm a bad person for thinking that, then I'm a bad person for thinking that. But I don't think because I think they're just these great people. I feel that way because I met them together and they were a force to be reckoned with at that time. They would say statements like, team forever. They don't know team hope. And I believe that. I believe like when you work towards a common goal, it really kind of draws you closer in order to kind of defeat this person or defeat that person. And there were a couple of moments when they were battling together and it was actually drawing, it appeared on our end anyway. It appeared it was drawing them together. So some of that is my rose-colored glasses. It literally is. But after you see some of the confessionals, after we make those statements, I'm like, okay, like maybe I was wrong.
Me too. So my question is about the men joking about the side chick word. We see the men having a good old time laughing about them saying, oh, well, I heard she was a side chick, right? But then Maurice doesn't take it as seriously as you do in that scene. It definitely pushed a button for you. So do you feel like Maurice should have defended you in that moment, or do you understand why he was joking more with the men?
You know what's funny? I didn't even notice it until I saw it, because I'm so intent on defending myself that I literally, no, and that's just real. I'm so intent on defending myself, I didn't even notice wasn't nobody defending me because I don't wake up in the morning worrying about who's going to defend me. I'm like, if something pop off, Kimmi good, like it's going to be all right. So in that moment, I never said nothing to him about it, like in Vegas, because I didn't think it through that way. I was just intent on me getting my point across. Now, when we first started dating and Kiowa and I would have issue, I definitely said many times I felt like he should do more to defend me. Because that's how I felt. Like I felt like he was the catalyst to, smash it, like nip it in the bud. So I definitely, we had that conversation several times. And then after I actually saw it and how it kind of played out and everything, Maurice is the kind that, and even when I was talking to him the first time about Kiowa, he's the kind that like, if it doesn't hold any credence, he literally doesn't want to waste his energy, period. When the stuff came out, even on social media, and people were like, oh, Kimmi the side chick. And I was like, you see what they saying? Like, do you see that? He was like, why you care? It ain't true. And that's literally, he doesn't waste that kind of energy normally because he's like, it's not true. Like, why does it bother you if it's not true? But for me, it speaks to my character. For me, it speaks to my character. It's not like somebody said I burnt dinner all week. Somebody is implying that I interfered in a marriage. And so it speaks to my character. And that's probably about the only time I've ever said, when we talked about it after we watched it, I said, babe, sometimes you look like you're in awe that I'm just like, boom, 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 and knocking it out, that he's enjoying the show. Like, it doesn't even occur to him like she needs some help. Like, let me go and let me help her. Because he's looking at it like, go girl.
Yeah.
They come up, you knock them down. So, I mean, we talk about everything, and we talked about it, and I wasn't stressed. I know he loves me, and when the opportunity arises for the appropriate defense, he 100% has my back.
Okay, so we saw the men having a little men chat and having a conversation, and we know they were confiding in each other about things, and some of that got back to Tiffany, which then got back to Tisha. So in that conversation where Tiffany was asking Tisha specific questions about their marriage, but she had inside information, do you feel like it was unfair to her to ask those questions before telling Tisha what she knew? Like, was she kind of being shady in your opinion when that all happened?
We were just trying to figure out where the questions were leading to. Like, again, I think it's timing. I think it's timing. Like, I really do think some of those conversations can be had sidebar. If you're sincerely caring about being transparent and about the other person, I just think some of those things can be done on sidebar. You can care about me one-on-one. Like, we ain't got the care in the group all the time. Like, so I didn't think she was leading. I think she was just trying to feel out the conversation to see if she was actually gonna say it or not, based on the responses that she was getting from Letitia.
You and Tisha had a conversation about being married to Scott men and how you guys have to do a lot of compromising. What makes the Scott men so different from the relationships that you've had in the past?
Ooh, so, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, they're entrepreneurs, and they've been entrepreneurs since they were teenagers, damn near preteens. And so, to be fair, all they really know is working for themselves to get what it is they want. No holds barred. You know what I mean? I don't think Marcel's worked in the corporate world, as far as answering to a hierarchy at some point. But for the most part, Maurice, like, he's worked for himself all the time. And I think a lot of times that mentality is of, I'm the boss everywhere. And as much as he is the king of our castle, I just feel like in the day and age where, women are working and women are doing the house and women are doing outside, there's a common ground that can be met. And I think that sometimes they still have a zeroed in focus on wife duties, husband duties. And Maurice even said to me when we were dating one time, he said, we'll never work. And I said, well, why? And he said, because you don't believe the man should be the head of the house. And I was like, that's not true. I absolutely believe the man should be the head of the house. I just believe they need to be the head and not just say they the head. So I think it incorporates a lot of things to make you the head. It's not, a conversation. And it's not a piece of paper that says women do this and men do that. Right. And that makes the head and that makes the tail. I just think this century changes things a little bit in regards to some of the rigidness of that. But I'm a firm believer in the head of the household, and the man leaves the house, makes the final decision, and all of that. Firm believer.
Okay. It's so funny about that though, because I feel like throughout the season, Maurice does this thing where y'all will have a conversation and he might not necessarily be listening when you say it. But then a couple of episodes later, we'll see him regurgitating what you said to him to somebody else, like he had made it up himself. And I was just sitting up there like, child, y'all gonna get tired of arguing with y'all wives when they right. Y'all gonna get tired.
That's so funny that you would say that. I say that all the time. I say, like, you act like you don't want to hear it because it's simply me. Like, cause I say it, you kind of don't want to hear. It just sounds better. Like if you say, I tease him constantly. I tease Marcel too. I tell Marcel stuff all the time. And Marcel will tell me, you're not as smart as you think you are, or you're more wrong than right. And then he'll do the same thing that he just told me I didn't know I was talking about. So that's part of what I'm talking about. And I haven't really put my finger on if my presentation is poor, because Marcia told me it was trash one time. So I said, maybe I should work on my presentation.
Yes, because I think he has
presentation could use a little buffering. And maybe it'll go over better. But I tease both of them for that very thing all the time.
That trip, boy. But okay, so
I'm tickled that you
real
saw
question.
It.
Oh yeah, I might be, a little younger, but I'm a married woman. And I think there are just some things that you just tend to notice how you can say things 100 times and they just act like they do not want to hear you. And let a stranger, a friend, somebody else say it, and all of a sudden, light bulb. It's just like
whole light bulb.
Something else. So do you think that men and or women should be allowed to confide in their friend circle with how they feel and hope their comments, feelings don't get reported back, like the situation that happened with Lewis and Marceau?
I do think it's plausible. I believe, honestly, to some level, when you're married, you should assume I'm going to tell him some things. And the exact things you don't want me to say, you need to say, Kimmi, for real, don't tell Maurice. You know what I'm saying? Because as husband and wife, I do think that there's a lot of pillow talk. I mean, and if people believe differently, then shame on you, because that you should assume that there is a certain amount of pillow talk that's going to happen, and you need to clarify. I used to have a best friend that was a girl. And she would say, let me tell you what so-and-so said. She didn't say, don't tell Kimmi. Because that was the same philosophy that we had. People knew we were best friends. Like, you're going to have to say, don't tell Kimmi. Or she's probably going to tell me. She's probably going to tell me. And that's how I look at marriages. Maurice is a better vault. Huh?
I said, I totally agree.
Yeah, Maurice is a better vault than most. I've had people get mad at me. They're like, oh, I didn't speak to me. I'm like, what is wrong with you, girl? She's like, oh, I thought you knew. Well, I told Marie. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you got a whole attitude with me. So he's a better vault than most. When people say to him, please don't tell, you can pretty much count that he's not telling.
So on the episode last night, we see everyone watching Mel and Martell arguing over who filed for divorce, right? Or who asked for the divorce. So do you feel like for future events, the cast should avoid inviting both of them, since we've seen them argue lots of episodes so far?
It's so difficult because at the end of the day, we're friends to everybody. And furthermore, we're coworkers. And some things, in all fairness, takes the group. Like, it's a collective effort. We have had conversation with them at this point where they're feeling like, it's best to do things separate. For me, I guess I'm still pretty much of the notion that I'll tell you he coming, I'll tell you she coming, and then y'all decide if y'all coming or not. And the onus is on you. Like, the onus is on you. I told you he was coming. You said you want to come and that you was going to act right. And so I can't see me necessarily saying, I'm not going to tell Melody about this. I'm probably going to tell Melody and say, Maurice told Martell. And I'm going to say, Maurice, you need to tell Martell that, Melody's coming. And then they can make that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So also on last night episode, we do see a moment of contention between you and Tisha based on her sending a text about sponsorships for an event. And you did explain in your confession how you just felt like, as her sister-in-law, you just did not feel like it was that you had to be in the group text with the rest of the cast. So have your conversation with Tisha always been like separate from the group text of the cast, or was this like a one-off situation to where she would have assumed it wouldn't have been an issue?
Again, I think it's a little of both. I've not ever been in a group text with those ladies. And as far as the event goes, I would have never assumed that there was any question that we wouldn't be participating and or sponsoring. So I wouldn't assume that I needed to have been in a cast member text group in order to ascertain that information.
Because what I did notice from the episode was how you were explaining to her where she felt like, what I didn't know was an issue. You was like, it wasn't an issue for me. It's an issue for you because I didn't respond. So I do think that sometimes Tisha doesn't get that you don't have an issue, but when she brings something up, you want to address it, which makes her feel like it's you. Do you feel that way too?
Listen, you said that so well. So listen, literally, the day that I got the text, I was like, oh, gosh, okay. I looked at it and I was like, okay, whatever. I literally dismissed it. I wasn't mad. I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel no kind of way. I was like, she should see in the computer that I done went in there and logged in and done my little stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I literally didn't think about it anymore. And this season really has given me a couple of moments that really took me by surprise. And that moment took me by surprise. I was surprised that came up at that moment in that arena, in the vein of us moving forward. So that was the moment when I became annoyed. I was not annoyed and had an issue with the text. If she wouldn't have brought it up, I would have never said anything. In real life, I feel like we would have ran into each other at dinner or at somebody's house, and she would have said, girl, I texted y'all on Tuesday and I asked y'all about the thing. I'm like, girl, I'm not even seeing you in that text with them. That's how I really thought it probably would have gone, but nobody ever addressed it till we were on camera. So I would have never said anything because it was not that deep to me. I would have never brought it up because it wasn't that deep. I didn't think it was a sidebar phone call and sidebar text, and I didn't. And at the moment, with everybody and their opinions, and it was petty, and nobody never said Kimmi can't be petty. I ain't never said it. I'm saying at the moment, I literally didn't think twice about it. It didn't even occur to me to pick up the phone and say, girl, why you put me in a group with them? I was just like, okay, she'll see my stuff in the computer and, she'll be like, thanks, chick. Surprise, surprise, didn't happen that way.
So I have a question about you and Maurice. So I know you guys got married like a few years ago, but I don't recall you guys going on a honeymoon. So I'm wondering, did you guys go on the honeymoon? And if so, where did you go? And if not, what's your ideal honeymoon?
We have not. And once we got back, it was back to work and it was back to life. And, that was during the time of transition, even with Monster coming here. And so that changes a lot of just get up and go for 2 weeks and go somewhere. You have to plan. You have to do things accordingly now. You don't get to just run off. So it kind of went down on the totem pole a little bit. And I kind of knew that it would if we didn't go right away, And so for a lot of stuff that people have issues about like, oh, Kimmi should be upset and Kimmi, I don't let that kind of stuff stress me out. I knew that if I didn't go right after my wedding, it likely was going to be a while before I got my honeymoon. Right. So I had already come to terms with that a long time ago. I had come to terms with that. So if it would have happened sooner, I'd have been surprised and happy. But the fact that it hasn't, it really, I don't lose no sleep over that. Like we not arguing and fighting over that at all, ever.
Right.
My ideal honeymoon is with my babe. I'm sun and fun. I want sand between my toes. I want all inclusive. I want to wake up with you saying, hey, Miss Kim, here's your drink. I want to only pack bikinis and bathing suits. I just want to I want to be more melanin when I come back. I want to be chocolate.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what
I do.
So I
You
have
want a
another
vacation?
question.
Go to Paris, and I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah.
Give me some sun.
Give me the
and
beach.
fun.
Some of the beach.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm on the
I want
beach.
sun and fun, sand in my toes.
So will we possibly see you and Maurice bring the squad like Tisha and Marceau did for the anniversary? Would you have them a part of your honeymoon, or will it just be y'all two?
So the funny thing is, I like group activities. I really do. I like group activities. I think they're fun. The trips we've gone on in the past have been really fun. Like, we really have fun when everybody got some act right. Like, we do. And that's the part I miss about the collective. That's really the part and I think that's the rose-colored glasses that I'm always looking through, because there was a time we couldn't get enough of each other. We're like, we literally couldn't get enough of each other. We call each other in the morning, texting, how y'all doing? Have a great day. You know, he probably won't let me bring nobody though. But
yeah, nah, I feel like Maurice like, let's protect the peace.
Put it past myself to ask.
Right. So far, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I wouldn't put it past myself to ask.
Okay, yeah. So far this season, what was like a really, really great moment on the show? And then what was a moment that really wasn't so great on the show?
This season, those are probably going to be easy for me. I think one of the greatest moments on the show was Jalen getting his condo, his first property. I think is big because it speaks to what we teach. It's not lip service. When I say these are the things that you can do to assist your child and not coming out with student loans and you know, a lot of people kind of look at where we are now and say, oh, they got money, da da da. I was a single parent when all this started, and I started putting money in a 529 when he was 2 years old. And as you all have seen on this show, I feel like me getting with Maurice was Maurice's responsibility to put him through school. Now, where Maurice does help me is in the fact that Maurice covers a lot of our expenses. So that's some of my money that I can put extra over into Jalen. And for that, we are, you know, grateful because that's what family is. But I think Jalen is an example of what I mentor, what I preach. You know, he's an African-American male that made it through school, made it through college, 4 years in, 4 years out, got his degree, had good credit when he got out, and he was able to get his first property, no co-signers. We didn't co-sign anything for him. We didn't do any of that. So that was one of that phone call that I got that said that he was approved and he was able to get that. And one of my worst is gonna be, you know, this whole thing with me and T. I mean, it's not a cool spot. And you know, for whatever entertainment that people seem to get from it, it's not a cool spot for me. It's nothing about it is cool. As friends, as family, it's not cool. As an individual, in my character, in my spirit, in my soul, I don't do angst well. So probably just that whole maybe end of that episode with me and Wanda to the beginning of the one when she was questioning me about Wanda. Like that coupled together was probably my most unpleasant.
Okay, so we know that the reunion has been filmed already. So without spoiling anything, or if you want to spoil something to us, it doesn't matter to me. What can the viewers expect from the upcoming reunion?
Oh, please, they fire me. I can't tell y'all nothing. Just gonna have to wait that thing out. Go ahead and round your food up around Thanksgiving and get all your little holiday trees and trinkets out. Y'all just literally, y'all gonna have to sit through this one and wait that one out. I don't have any spoilers. I just say stay tuned. I say stay tuned. This ride has been a roller coaster for all of us. and we're ready for that ride to come down to the bottom. We're ready for, you go up the hill and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, ready for it to be.
We're ready for that ride to be at the bottom.
So does that mean that y'all might be ready for the show to be over as well?
I hope not, because that's the hard
No.
spot to sit.
Look,
no. I don't feel that way, because in all honesty, for the bad parts that I feel we have to work through, I also feel like we have a lot of good things that have come from the show. And in my opinion, I believe the good outweighs the bad at the moment. As far as being able to raise a platform that most of us otherwise wouldn't have had without the TV show, to do some things that we actually like to do in the community. So no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this show to end. I'm just ready for things
I'm not ready
a little bit.
We're not ready either.
None of us are ready.
We're not.
None of us are ready.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, because I get confused. Like, you get a lot of comments about, oh, we're tired of fighting, we're tired of this. But the ratings are steady going up, 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 up. And it literally, like, you try to understand, like, except somebody like it, because the ratings, like, are...
I tell people all the time, y'all know y'all love mess. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to us. You like the mess. Pulling up, talking about, it's too much. You lie. That's why you keep watching it, and that's why you come to watch us talk about it after you watch it.
Correct. So you could get some more insight, so you could go back and tell us how wrong we were. So in them 42 minutes, I love that people can tell me my life and get me all the way together. All the way together. And I've been up this morning giggling, because I'm tickled. I'm tickled. And I guess everybody's entitled to their opinion. So
you feel like they flipped on you? You feel like they flipped on you this week?
Oh, this is what's funny. If someone has flipped on me, they wasn't with me to begin with. If a text is gonna make you feel some kind of way different about me. However, for the most part, I've had pretty cordial conversations about people saying, like, yeah, I think you were wrong. You could have side texted her. You could have whatever. And I'm like, you're right. I feel you. Now what?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're right. I elected not to do that. But I'm not bickering. I mean, I haven't had any kind of bickerings like with people or anything. But I do think, to a degree, they put me on this pedestal of, oh, Kimmi can do no wrong, and Kimmi can do wrong. Kimmi can do wrong. And I've said to people before, very easily, I said, listen, keep that same energy when I screw up. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep that same energy, because if you jumped off that bandwagon strictly because I didn't want to text somebody back at that moment, then you wasn't never on my wagon. Like, real talk. And if you are on my wagon, you can tell me in love and in courtesy, I think you could have texted back. And I'm going to look at you and say, you're right. I could have texted her back.
I agree. I have one last question. So, do you think the cast needs a shake-up at all? Or do you think, like, no one needs to be added, no one needs to be taken away? How do you feel the cast kind of represents the show as a whole? I know some people may feel like, some of us do not like Tiffany and Lewis. Some people feel like Destiny does not reveal too much. So do you feel like the cast needs any changes come next season?
Ooh-wee. I think for the most part, for this show, all the people that we have make it work. I think it's hard to say any one or two people in or out is going to make or break this particular show, especially with the core 6 people. I've always believed that it takes all of us. There's people don't like me. Okay. People don't like Tisha. Okay. People don't like Mel. Okay. And there's people that love us. And I think all of those people help. People DM me, you should get your own show. I'm like, nah. Because it take all of us. All of y'all ain't going to tune in every week just to watch me putz around in the kitchen or something.
It's not okay.
You don't want to do it now.
That's right.
You don't want to do it now. So, I think people really need to take into perspective that good, bad, or indifferent, publicity is publicity. and it gets people tuned in, it gets people talking, it gets people trending. I've always felt like we could use a couple extra people because the storylines kind of get stale to just keep regurgitating the same thing. So I don't disagree that there are people that could benefit, the show could benefit from different people. I definitely agree with that. And we're still holding out hope on, the widow.
I have one last question. I want to know, how is Jalen handling being on TV? I know at first he wasn't, and then it seems like he's come onto the screen more and more in his role of working with Tisha and Marcel. So I'm just wondering, how is he enjoying it? Is he not liking it so much being on reality TV?
It's good and bad. We're funny and outgoing and laughy, but at the end of the day, we're both really kind of extroverted introverts, and so it sometimes gets difficult. He's getting a lot better than when he first started, but filming for him was tough. Literally, I would be like, bro, look, go get you a shot before you get in there and film. Help loosen you up a little bit. Because people was like dragging my baby, and I'm like, listen, he's nervous, god dog. And so literally, I remember the first time he took the shots and the production and everything. So, he did great, da 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 da. And he said, I think I took too many. So he had to go get some coffee and kind of reel it back in a little bit. Yeah. But he gets nervous. He's a kid. He's a young adult. Let me say that correctly. He's a young adult and he gets nervous. So sometimes, in them comments, and people can be cruel and say all kinds of stuff. And I'm one that I will actually look at comments. I don't get stressed out because I'm the kind that sometimes they right. Like sometimes they right. And if you look at some of them, you're like, I could have done that different. Or, maybe I should tone it down a little bit. And I tell him the same thing. And I'll say, well, you need to maybe try this. Somebody said this. You need to maybe try that. So I don't dismiss all comments. I definitely do my best not to let it wear me down. But I personally do look at them because I'm a reality person. I watch reality, and I wouldn't say half the stuff that these people say to me. However, sometimes I see where they're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Right. You look at it and you're like, yeah, I probably would have thought that too if I wasn't on the show and sat there for 4 hours.
Yeah. Right.
So, it really doesn't stress me all the way out. Everybody has an opinion. I've been dealing with that for years. I got a big mouth. So I've learned a long time ago, if you're going to be popping off at the mouth, you got to have thick skin in order to, take what you
Child. We want people to learn that lesson because they be having a hard time understanding that part. But I really had the one last question about Maurice and Marceau's childhood, because I feel like you touched on it a bit, talking about how they were working really, really young. And I feel like we've kind of heard things, but everybody's always asking who are the parents? What was it like? Because I feel like we don't really have a understanding really of what their upbringing was like, but we keep hearing little pieces of it. And I was just wondering, could you illuminate slightly? Because it's not your childhood, but it is your family,
Correct. Correct. And you're correct in saying that. To be fair, they can elaborate the most. And I wish that the opportunity would be had to have an opportunity to have that conversation. Mommy is amazing. Daddy is, I'm saying Mommy Scott and Daddy Scott is what I'm referring to. Yes. Are genuinely super cool people. That portion of the story I would love to have told. They bought their mother a house a couple of years ago, right after we got married, and that would have been a really good opportunity to kind of elaborate on that part of the story.
Right.
The one thing about the 6 of us that we all had in common is that all of us have come from inner cities, underserved areas of where we're from. They are no different. They met the struggle for real. It was a whole struggle. And they had a big family. So it took a village to kind of hold them together. And that's why they're as close knit as they are. That's exact, because they had to kind of be each other's support forever. from the top all the way down to the baby. And I really wish that part could be told, because it would move you. It would absolutely move you if y'all were able to get more of their backstory that makes them the people. For all of us, most of who we are is where we were raised and who we were.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, once you get that picture, you'll sit back and go, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
that's what I was saying, like,
picture.
We would really like to see those dots connect. Yeah,
I wish it could be told, and I think it needs to be told by them, because they would give you a lot of insight. But the short version is that all of us have come from a struggling part of town. Single parent, not single parent, struggling, one parent, not available, maybe. It's a whole thing. And that was part of the camaraderie that we had. Like, all 6 of us had some type of area in our childhood where you wasn't getting the best toys, you wasn't getting the best things for Christmas, you weren't getting those things. If you got Christmas, Yeah. So I would plead to anybody who has the capability, that I think that's part of the story that at some point we can kind of squeeze in there.
So what you're saying is we have to interview Martell and Maurice and Marceau.
Excuse me? Well, I'll interview Maurice.
You can do all 3 of them at one time. They actually like that. However, I was actually referring to the television show, because I think it's a story everybody needs to hear, because I think a lot of that is what makes us who we are. The person I am is because I was raised by a single mom. So I don't think there's anything I can't do, period. There's nothing I can't do. I'll change a door. I'll change a doorbell. I'll change, tile. I'll do a thermostat, because I was raised to believe there's nothing I can't do. And a lot of knowing where you came from shows you who you are.
I agree.
Look.
We all agree. So we can hope to that next season, get on the moms and the daddies. But thank you so much for coming and sitting with us and having this long conversation about this season of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Do you have anything coming up that you want to promote that may be going on with the show, or with yourself, or with your website and anything?
I just encourage people to go check out the website, kimzone.com, because that's everything me. That's my real estate. If you have questions, you can email me. If you're interested in moving here, you can email me. We'll find you a house. It gives you a little backstory about me. The cookbook that I have is on there as well. It's an ebook. You can download it for $10. And keep your eyes and ears open. Maurice and I, people encourage us to do more posting, because somehow this world seems to believe if you don't post, you're not doing shit. And I don't really get it, but that's what we believe. So just keep your eyes open, because there are some things that we would like to get in the forefront.
Okay. Well, we're going to say thank you to Kimmi. We had a great time, ladies.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking.
I was like, look, I want to get Kimmi back because so much has happened. I want to get her before the season ends because so much has happened. So we are very, very happy to have you here. I think you are a fan favorite, because I think out of all the cast, you seem to have the best conversations to explain your point of view, even when it's like contingent. Like, you still trying to, well, no, I mean this, and sometimes it comes off like we get your point without having to wait a long time to figure out what you was thinking.
Absolutely.
That's because I don't like to wait a long time to understand either. Like, I need you to get to the point. And that's why I like talking to y'all, because I like when y'all be seeing stuff that I'm not sure everybody else is seeing. So I appreciate that.
I love the confirmation. I'm like, yes, we get answers.
Correct.
Sure. So we're going to say bye to Kimmi and hope to have you on either next season, reunion time, a new cookbook come out, whatever you want to promote. Feel free to always let us know. Hey, we're always here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, another great interview with
Good times at Sweet Valley
Kimmi.
High.
Another one for the books.
So we will be live this Thursday for our regular panel. That will be on my channel this Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Make sure to also follow all of us on our social medias. Y'all know us on IG at OohLadiesFirst. Y'all can email us at OohLadiesFirstPanel@gmail. Also follow us all, Bondy Blue, Jami Queen, JD's Corner, Necey Dixon. I am JD's Corner on everything now, honey.
Finally.
You better say it.
We is uniform. Okay, so follow us all.
You better say it. Look at the simplification. Okay, just one app for everybody. Official.
I was like, yes, I can get all together now. Okay.
Official.
So, make sure to support us in every way possible on our own channels, on our together panels or whatever. All of this every day. Okay. Now we're gonna go and love our Sundays alone. Okay, offline, offline.
A break.
Have our own time. Okay, and we'll see y'all later. Okay. Peace, y'all.
Bye.